Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Backup Mobile webinar. So this session is going to last approximately 10 minutes with time for questions at the end of the session. Please remain muted during the session and ask any questions via the chat on the meeting. Any questions that we don't have a chance to answer during the session, we'll make sure are added onto the frequently asked questions section on the webinar webpage when a copy of the webinar is uploaded there for you. So backup mobiles are provided in the event that there's an issue with the reception handsets. So in the session today, we're going to have a look at when those mobiles should be used, how do you use them, where are they kept, and looking at testing for the backup mobiles. So under normal circumstances, calls will come from Exon through our servers and are then passed through to the practice. So we receive the inbound calls, your welcome message is played, any calendar events are checked, and your greetings are then played to the patients. All the queues would queue for the practice if everything was working as normal. If you have an issue, though, locally with around the practice, either because your internet's been cut or you have a local power cut or somebody's gone through the cables, then that will mean that the calls are not getting from Exon through our servers into the practice. You'll know there's an issue because on your desk phones, you'll see likely a no service message, or if there's a power cut, then the screen could be totally blank. You'll also have no dial tone on the desk phones when they're picked up. If you're looking at the user console, you'll see a build-up of queuing calls, so lots of red on that user console, with no green or blue calls, so no inbound or outbound calls being made on the system. And despite all these calls queuing, the phones within the practice wouldn't be ringing. So the backup mobiles can then be used if those calls aren't getting through to the practice from Exon's servers. So it cuts out the local wiring and uses the mobile network then to deliver the calls through to the backup mobiles. So each mobile is paired with one of your reception handsets, and the sticker on the back of the mobile will tell you which phone that particular mobile is paired with. If a fault occurs and the calls can't get through to the desk phone, the system will automatically switch the calls to the mobile associated with that reception handset. So whichever user was last logged in to the reception handset will now receive their calls through the backup mobile that's paired with that particular handset. So it's important to keep the backup mobiles charged, if you can, switched on, and near to that associated handset, because each time there's a fault, the system will forward calls to the mobile rather than sending them through to the handset. If there wasn't a user logged in to the reception handset when the fault occurred, if you turn on the backup mobile for that particular handset and dial 399 on the mobile, that will then log in the last user that was logged in to the desk phone and will then force calls through the backup mobile. So that user then will be able to receive their calls through that backup mobile. The only time you may have any issue with that is if that user was logged into a different phone before and they're currently using one of the other backup mobiles. So you can still only have one user logged in to the phone at the time. But if it's a different user logged into the other reception handset, you can use that 399 to force the user routing. If a fault is intermittent, both the reception handset and the backup mobile may be receiving calls. So if you've got the backup mobile switched on and it rings, it's usually because there's a call that we've not been able to get through to the desk phone, and that will then be diverted automatically through to that backup mobile. If you find that that's happening, if you dial 399 on the mobile, that will then force all the calls through to the mobile so that both phones aren't then ringing on at the same time. You can then focus on the calls coming through the mobile, And once that fault is resolved, if you dial 4999 on the backup mobile, that will cancel the call diversion and send the calls back to the reception handset for you. So the backup mobiles, if you keep them charged, will obviously work in the event of an intermittent fault. If you keep them switched on, you'll know that you've got calls going through to the mobile rather than through to their handset. And make sure that your reception team know where those mobiles are and what to do in the event of a fault. So if calls stop coming through on the desk phone, then you can dial the 3999 on the mobile to force the calls through the mobile. The backup mobiles can be tested regularly, and tests can be recorded in the business continuity section of the support portal. So you can either access that through the single sign-on, clicking onto the support portal, or directly through the support portal website. When in the support portal, you'll need to click the business continuity section, which is the alarm clock up at the top near your initials. And then over on the left-hand side, select destinations. That will then bring up a list of your reception extensions and the backup mobiles that are associated to that particular phone. Over on the right-hand side, you then have an icon for a PowerPoint, and you can then log any testing that you do of those backup mobiles on the system, so it is marked as tested and that you've charged it and powered it on. You can even dial the 3999 to force calls through to make sure that the routing is working properly. Just remember to dial 4999 when you want to reset it. If you don't have stickers on the back of your mobile phones, if you contact our service delivery team, they can arrange to get some replacement stickers sent out for you. So we've looked at when you should be using your backup mobiles. We've looked at how to use those phones, where they're best kept, and testing of your backup mobiles through the business continuity section in the support portal.